don't fit in boxes of your categories. You won't find real or the next us. The chosen one might get it tatted on me. You passed on me, better fess up. On my worst day, come make your best stuff. On my worst stuff, could be your best of. And your running mouth, better rest up. There's a couple of things that can pent up. I've been alone in my room with nobody around just to gather my thoughts, yeah. Your album is charting, not a surprise. They'll tell me how many you buy, yeah. You met with a label one time and you posted some pictures, I see your facade, yeah. I met with some labels, no pictures from me. I pick pictures with words when I talk. People talking, I got no time to listen. You're trying to be different, that makes you not different. They say I just rap about women, that's coming from links who just never get women. The best is a giving, y'all average.
What's good, everyone? Richard here from Weed City Soul, and we're here to do a performance review on the Crossover Culture Sniper LP. So we went over this in the preview video, but if you're tuning in for the first time, Crossover Culture is a brand new to the market basketball specific brand. They have an on-court line and an off-court line. First and foremost, I'd like to give a huge shout out to brand founder Ryan Duke and the good people over at Crossover Culture for sending this care package my way. I was given this pair 2 performance tests, but just because I was gifted these does not mean it's going to affect my review of these shoes at all. I'm going to be remaining completely objective in this review, and if you have any doubt of that, just go ahead and look on the channel. It's not the first time I've been given a pair of shoes 2 performance tests before, and I've given those kinds of shoes poor reviews. Not that I think that those are bad companies, they show a lot of promise, but it's very difficult to hit the nail right on the head immediately out of the gate, and it kind of looks like that's what Crossover Culture has done here. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the cushioning as usual. Running the length of the shoe is Crossover Culture's proprietary LP Zero Compression Set foam, which is made from a low specific gravity quantum compound. Now, what all those fancy words essentially mean is that this is a lightweight response foam that Crossover Culture claims is not going to pack down over time. I've had these for a little over a month and I've seen no sign of any kind of deterioration of the foam compound or any packing down of any type. I'd like to do some sort of long-term update on these because I just haven't played in them long enough yet to really know if the foam's gonna break down over time. You kind of want to look at a 6-month update and maybe a 1-year update because a lot of people can only afford 1 basketball shoe per season. As far as straight up performance goes, this stuff is fantastic. It's really lightweight, it's really responsive, you do feel some bounce back from it. The impact protection is really strong and you still get some really great court feel, especially up front in the forefoot. If I had to compare it to any modern cushioning system that's already on the market, I would compare it to the full-length Micro G that is on the Under Armour Clutch Fit Drive. It's just a really nice foam that feels good underfoot. It's responsive. In this shoe, it's going to be a little bit thicker than it is in the Clutch Fit Drive, so you do get better impact protection here. And the court feel, again, stays pretty strong. It's not maybe quite as good as the Clutch Fit Drive, but it's right there. This stuff is really phenomenal. Onto the upper, we see a lot of TPU meshes these days. Crossover Culture took it a step further and used a urethane-coated knit for their upper. The shoe feels fantastic right out of the box. There's no real break-in time with this upper. It's flexible but supportive. It allows you to move without feeling restricted, but you still do feel supported. Upon close inspection, we can see that the upper is actually constructed with a 3D print. Now the print adds structural integrity to the shoe and it also provides a layer of abrasion resistance for when you're on the court and moving around and just knocking into other people. There's also a synthetic rand that runs around the base of the upper for almost the entirety of the shoe. Now what these small intricate features allow them to do is to keep this upper really lightweight while keeping it strong and supportive. The shoe features an interior heel counter that runs about halfway up the back of the shoe. This thing does a fantastic job at keeping your foot on the footbed. I had 0 heel movement inside the shoe. Onto the interior of the shoe. The shoe features a full-length inner boot that provides you with a seamless, ultra-comfortable fit. These things are actually really comfortable right out of the box. Taking a look at the ankle of the shoe, you can see that this portion is not particularly rigid. But what that allows you to do is to retain mobility while you still get a measure of support up front in the shoe. The whole shoe, like this whole thing feels fantastic, but especially in this back portion. Again, I mentioned there's no heel slip in this shoe whatsoever, and these notches and these flaps just allow you to stay really nimble and to move around the court, but you never feel like you're not being supported. On sizing, these fit me essentially perfectly in my regular 10.5. If you're ordering online, which I believe is your main option right now with Crossover Culture, they've only been on the market since early February, not even 2 months yet. But if you're ordering online, I would definitely recommend that you go true to size. These fit really nicely. Onto the traction, multi-level molded herringbone. What's there to say about herringbone? It works. I played on a relatively dusty floor. It's my usual floor, which is most of the time immaculate. For the past couple of months, though, it's been really dusty, and I'm not sure why. So I did have to wipe occasionally, but I wouldn't say frequently, and these still did their job very nicely. I'm personally really glad that they went ahead and used herringbone, because as you can see, they can still tell a story while using herringbone on a shoe. This didn't have to be a logo. This could have been anything you wanted it to be. You can tell whatever story you want, and your traction can still work. Any company that's really serious about performance, that doesn't use a pattern that is known and proven to work like this, I don't know what you guys are thinking. I don't understand how basketball shoes even come out with poor traction. Like, what was going on in the testing process? Did you not test it on a dusty floor? Did you not think your customers were ever going to have to play on a dusty floor? So just big shout out to Crossover Culture for being smart enough to use what works and still being able to make a cool looking traction pattern and tell a cool story. Embedded in the tooling is Crossover Culture's wishbone suspension system, which acts as their torsional rigidity shank. In terms of how much material really is used, this is a really small midfoot shank. It's the overall shape of the shank that's the key to this piece. The wishbone shape allows the shoe to stay really flexible, especially front to back, but if you look inside, you'll notice these ridges on the wishbone that run from side to side. And what that does is add multiple layers of rigidity for this shoe from side to side and just torsionally. It's really stiff throughout that area, but it's still a really flexible shoe front to back. This is a really, really strong midfoot shank. And another thing the wishbone suspension system does is aid in the shoe's transition. The ride on these is very smooth. Now, is the shoe perfect? Of course not. I have a couple of small gripes. First being that the logo is coming off in multiple places on the shoe. There it is. See that? And right down on the forefoot logo, it's starting to peel off too. You can see there. Obviously not a huge deal, but being as they're still relatively new, it is a little disappointing that some of that stuff is falling off. It's kind of the nature of the upper. There is some stuff that's just pressed onto it. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it's a little disappointing. Another small complaint that I have, and it's not even a real complaint, is that the shoe emanates kind of a funny smell after you've been wearing them for a while. And it's not a regular stinky foot smell. I even tested it on other shoes that I would change into to play for a little while without changing the socks that I wore in these shoes. And it's definitely this model. And that's not the first time I've ever seen that happen either. There are a few models of the Asics Gel Kinsei that emanate an odd smell after you've been wearing them for a while. I'm not sure what the reason is. I'm not sure if it's the liner, but the liner doesn't seem to retain too much liquid or anything. In fact, the shoe is pretty decently breathable, at least pretty standard for a basketball shoe. So while that, again, that's not a real complaint because athletic shoes get stinky, it was kind of odd. On a personal note, I just think this is a really good looking shoe. It's got some OVO vibes, some Curry vibes, some Hyperdunk vibes, some Clutch Fit Drive vibes. Not that they took inspiration from any of those shoes specifically, but what they ended up with was a really good looking shoe. I mean, look at this thing. I think it's stunning. This is a really striking silhouette. What I'd really like to see from the company is some Team Bank colorways of this guy. Imagine this thing with a university red upper and they keep this part white with that gold hit there, or royal blue. This thing would be really dope in some colors. They only have 3 colorways right now, and they're all white, gray, black, and gold. Some combination of those colors, and they all look really nice, but I'd still like to see some flash of color in this line. So a lot of sneakerheads are gonna have a lot of trepidation about testing out a new brand. You know, money isn't easy to come by, and even the cheapest shoes on the market are still over $100. $100 is not a small amount of money. So if you've been contemplating these, but you're kind of on the fence because you don't know what you're getting from Crossover Culture, let me put those fears aside. This thing is a beast. This is a really great shoe made with high quality materials. It has essentially no weaknesses from a performance standpoint. It's a very versatile shoe. I believe it would work for essentially any position and any type of player. Is this thing worth your money? Yeah, absolutely. Like I just said, this thing is a beast. It is very competitively priced too at $120. Its main competition on the market, and the shoe that it probably resembles the most, is a Hyperdunk. Except this is probably the best Hyperdunk you're ever gonna wear. And Hyperdunks these days are what, 160, 170 bucks? Like, they just keep going up every year. This is a very, very viable option that will give you the same kind of experience, although I believe better, without you having to pay that extra $40, $50. So if you're looking for a performance beast, then this shoe is probably for you. It essentially has no weaknesses. It has phenomenal cushioning that gives you great impact protection, strong court feel, the traction is on point, the upper is comfortable, and the fit is really spot on. Crossover Culture Sniper LP is here to make a statement, and I believe it has done that. This is a very, very good basketball shoe. On the other hand, if you're looking for extremes in any one particular area, you probably aren't going to find it here. If you like stand on the ground court feel, you're not going to find it in this shoe. If you like stop on a dime, no matter what the conditions, it trips you sometimes traction, that's not going to be these guys. Or if you're looking for a shoe that's really, really bouncy underfoot, that's not going to be these guys either. If you've enjoyed this review at all, please comment, like, and hit that subscribe button below. It really helps us out. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Weed City Soul. Until next time, I'm Richard from Weed City Soul, and they're just shoes.